and welcome back to Relentless Talk Radio. This is the Relentless for a Cure special edition. I've been focusing on the Leukemia Lymphoma Society's Men and Women of the Year candidates this year here in Arizona. And today I have a very special guest. I'm super excited. It's the last interview in the series. And this is Jim Brewer. He's the director, right? The right title, right? Director?
Executive director.
You're the executive director. He's the grand poobah at the LLS, Arizona. And so, Jim, tell us a little bit about what you do as the executive director of Leukemia Lymphoma Society here in Arizona.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Michelle, and for all that you're doing to raise awareness about LLS and certainly our Man and Woman of the Year campaign. I know our candidates have had a good time talking with you. So as the executive director for the Arizona chapter, it's all about making sure that we raise as much money as we can to support our mission, that we elevate our profile within the state so that especially patients are aware that we are here to be able to help, and to also work with a board of trustees, which are all volunteers that are engaged with us to make sure that we are able to do both of those things. In fact, right before this, I was on our last board meeting of the fiscal year with our volunteer board of trustees, just talking about, again, impact of what's going on in the world right now, but how we can continue to work hard. Because as we like to say right now, cancer is not canceled. We're still doing our work. And so as the executive director in Arizona, it's up to me to make sure that we're doing all we can here in the state to support our patients and to advance our mission.
So first of all, let me say what a humongous job it is that you have, and just how much I appreciate you doing it. I mean, you really could have gone to work anywhere, and you came to work here at LLS in Arizona, and we really appreciate the work that you do every day, especially during these tough times during COVID, because not only is cancer not canceled, but people with cancer or who are immune compromised are at greater risk now than ever. So really what you guys are doing, and the candidates this year that are raising money, it's money that's needed more so now than ever. I mean, it's a pretty crazy thing. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the effects of COVID in a minute. But I wanted to first of all know, like, why LLS? I mean, you're a smarty pants. You could have worked for anyone, any nonprofit or for-profit organization would have been lucky to have you. I've sat down, we've had many conversations. You're a bright guy. You're a hard worker. Why did you choose to donate your life, which is really what you're doing when you work for an organization? You're giving your life to this organization. How come this one?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. My path to get to LLS, I spent most of my career in the for-profit world, and then I came out of an experience where I really wanted to work for a mission-centric organization. And my family had an experience with leukemia specifically, but it was at a time. It was my mom's second husband, and we had small children, and he was. He had AML. It was a brief, very difficult struggle, but we really couldn't be around them very much because we had what you're mentioning before about being immunocompromised with small kids. We weren't able to be there as much as I would have liked to have been.
Right.
For my mom and for her husband. And I'll tell you this little story. So I was getting ready to go for the final interviews in our home office. And at the time, I still do for the most part, whenever I would leave to travel somewhere, I'd let my mom know, hey mom, I'm going out of state. And so I told her, I'm like, I'm flying to New York. I'm interviewing for this organization. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. I know Errol. And she's like, oh my gosh, you have no idea. We met somebody through LLS that I call my guardian angel, because what she was able to do to support us, and was one of our first connection volunteers, that what she was able to do to support my mom and her husband while they were going through their journey. And in classic mom fashion, she's like, you got the job. This was meant to be. It's all coming together. And so that was kind of the start of my career with LLS. And even though we had that experience then with the family, it was really more about, again, working for a mission-centric organization. And I knew in the research that I had done, and then obviously hearing from my mom, that it was a solid, successful organization, but that it was making a big, big impact, not just in the fight against blood cancers, but with all cancers. And I've learned a whole lot since then. But even just my initial kind of rudimentary research, it was that blood cancer research is the tip of the spear for all cancer research. And so to be able to be a part of that and reading a little bit about some of the exciting things that were happening, that, it made a lot of sense to me. And now, I've been with LLS, it'll be 9 years on June 30th. And it's been, I can't even tell you how rewarding it's been, because now, since then, while my family has had that experience, and we unfortunately added another experience with blood cancer about halfway through my career here, it's all the other families that I've been able to meet and get to know, and even in my small way, help them. And I'm knowing that in a much larger way, how LLS is helping them, both through, creating pathways to new treatments, but also with all the other support services that we provide. So it is very meaningful work. And I'm very, very proud to be able to do it. I appreciate your kind words.
The truth.
My initial answer was going to be, well, I work here because they would have me. So I start there, but it's good work to be able to do and wake up on a daily basis knowing that you're making a difference in a mission that's important to so many people.
And you have an absolutely fantastic staff. We've got Joan Kaminsky is on your staff, and she's actually saying cancer is not canceled. Patients need us now more than ever. So they're driving that point home. Our candidates for 2020 Man and Woman of the Year campaign continue to be Relentless to support the Leukemia Lymphoma Society Arizona. And then she gives us the URL, which I'm going to scroll on the end on the bottom of the screen now. Yeah. So you guys just have like the most amazing staff. I mean, they are just absolutely incredible. I've had the opportunity to work with them. I actually through multiple. I actually started to got involved with the LLS at the director before you.
Oh, wow.
I didn't realize it was that long ago. But Gene.
John.
Oh God.
Oh, yes.
It's going to drive me crazy.
Jackie.
Yes.
Jackie Palmerberg. She was even before the 2 or 3 people before me. So you're going back quite a few years. And she served as an interim executive director for a while, but she was really very involved in building our donor base, which some of whom we still have with us today. And this is going back years and years. She's terrific.
She's terrific. And we did things with the Coyotes at the time. And Jean Underwood is who it is.
Oh, I don't know.
Jean Underwood, and it was about 10 years ago, so it might have been the person just before you, actually.
Yeah.
It was another J name, Jean, menopause brain, Jean, Jackie, John, Julie.
Right.
Jean Underwood.
J. Yeah, that seems to be the.
And you guys kind of started recruiting me right out of the gate because you knew that my dad had lymphoma. My dad was diagnosed 13 years ago now with lymphoma. We just lost him on February 15th. Lymphoma finally took him. And it was amazing. He was surprised.
Yeah.
The very last conversation he's had with the doctor was, I've been really lucky. I've been beating this for a long time. They gave him 5 years and he got 12.
Yeah, and it's a lot of what we do is and it's interesting now having worked here and getting in just a whole new perspective on this. Every day that you can add for somebody. And in the case of, your dad or other patients, and we hear this all the time, I was able to walk my daughter down the aisle, or I was able to see my grandkids.
100%. Those 12 years, we got a lot done, 100%. And there was treatments. He was in a research study, so he believed in research, and he also was part of the first pheresis treatments that were being done, which is amazing. It's like they take your blood out of one arm, they put it into a washing machine. It literally sounds like a washing machine. They put someone else's plasma into the blood, mix it, and then put it back in your body. It's the most amazing thing. And all of this research takes just a boatload of cash. It's a lot of money, right? Plus, during COVID, we'll touch on COVID here a little bit. During COVID, you guys have gone over and above the call of duty by gifting some additional assistance to families. Because truth be told, if my dad was still working when COVID hit, he would not have been able to go to work. And there would have been troubles. Because he wouldn't have been able to, my dad was older, so he probably wouldn't have been able to tap into his Social Security, but some families can't do that. So tell us what you guys did for families with the additional funding for COVID.
Yeah, obviously there are a lot of challenges that face our patients, in the best of times. I will say they're a vulnerable population on the best day, and we've not had many best days of late. And so when the pandemic hit, the first thing we did was we gathered as much information as we could about the virus and what that impact might be on our patients. But to be honest with you, they were already used to social distancing, used to wearing masks, used to protecting themselves from infections and everything. So I had one patient, actually as a caregiver, that said, well, welcome to our world. This is what we do all the time. So that was the first thing we did, is just made sure we had the best information to share. But what you were alluding to, which I'm really proud as an organization that we were able to do this, is we created specifically a financial aid fund for patients. They didn't have to have COVID, but it was related to the fact that people were out of work or couldn't go to work, and or were experiencing other financial difficulties. And so we raised some money from some of our corporate partners on a national level, and took some of our own funds and plugged them into. And I'm happy to report this is as of the end of yesterday. We're now at about $4.5 million that we've given out to 18,000 patient families around the U.S., including many right here in Arizona. And so that's money, obviously, that was needed. And the other thing we did is we made pretty much, there's zero restrictions on it. If you have a diagnosis, you get a check, and it's just to help with whatever. We have other types of financial aid that were related to out-of-pocket expenses for medication or for travel expenses. This was, you need to buy your groceries, you need to keep your lights on, whatever it is, money's there for you. And that's,
COVID has been horrible on so many levels. But on other levels, I think COVID has actually shown what immense humanity we have for each other. And this $4.5 million, that was 4.5, is that what you said?
Yeah, and we have
$4.5 million. I mean, that's real money. That's real. And it was all gifted or raised somehow.
Right.
So one of your major fundraisers is the Man and Woman of the Year, correct?
That is true.
All over the country. It's not just in Arizona. It's
right.
How many years have you guys been doing it?
Oh gosh, as an organization, I think it's been about 25. We restarted it here, although we didn't know we had restarted it in, I think it was 2012 or 2013, without knowing that we had actually had a couple of Man and Woman of the Year campaigns back in the late 90s.
In the past.
And we found out because the Woman of the Year of 1999, when we were talking about the campaign, and like, oh, we're so glad to start this campaign. She's like, hey, I did that a long time ago. And so we got to know her too. Which so we've been doing, I think this is our kind of 8th or 9th year as our reboot here in Arizona. And it's an important campaign for us for many reasons. One, it raises a lot of money, but also it just by the nature of its structure, it introduces us to people that we might not get to know otherwise. Because the one thing that, while you have gotten involved and you have a very, very direct connection to our mission, we have a lot of people that do this that don't, which is one of the things that's kind of surprised me when we started this. Is I just expected, to get into something like this, which is it's a commitment. You're spending 2 weeks of actual fundraising, but there's a lot of prep and a lot of time that goes in around it. It's not a light lift necessarily. That you would have to have some really, strong connection previously to the mission. And it's probably worked out to be about a half and half. And one of the things that we do is I'm sure some of your candidates have talked about, is we have a Boy and the Girl of the Year who are local young survivors that if you don't have a connection to our mission, you have one pretty quickly. I got a chance to interview them. So if you talk to Callan and Taylor and their family.
Relentless Talk Radio, you can see me interview Callan, who is just a little munchkin, cutie pie little boy. Oh my God! I just wanted to. If it was okay for me to do it, I'd squeeze him super hard. And then Taylor, the Girl of the Year, who's just extremely bright, has actually been a hero for several times in a row, and she's really very articulate and very aware of what her mission is. I was impressed with both of them, and I was really impressed with their parents.
Yes,
who were just amazing. So if you're listening to this broadcast, you can go back to youtube.relentlesstalkradio.com, and you can see all of the interviews of the 4 of the candidates: the Boy of the Year, the Girl of the Year, and now Jim Brewer. So the gala is on the 27th of June. and it's virtual this year.
It is. It's we're doing virtual grand finales across the country. We actually just went to one Saturday night that was being held in Salt Lake City, just so we could kind of see one in action.
How'd they do?
It was a lot of fun. It's amazing as we shift to this virtual world that there are certain things that are actually an advantage, and being able to kind of broaden the reach, because you don't have to get dressed up. You don't have to drive somewhere. And
I'm getting dressed up. Okay. Right. I don't have my cocktail. I'm getting dressed up. I don't care. True. I'm putting my hair, I'm getting my hair done, full makeup, fake eyelashes. I'm doing the whole thing. I'm actually going to wear a tiara, I think. We
did encourage, and we will encourage people to dress up. So, but it's on a virtual platform, and so it was a lot of fun. And so we're really excited about this event and celebrating these 6 candidates who, this is not an easy time in Senate, and they've
really stepped up,
and it's impressive, and we've thanked them up and down and sideways, and we continue to and will, because they've stuck with this, and they're doing all of this very differently than how we would normally do it. And it's just amazing to see their creativity and their passion. And we're going to bring all that out at the virtual grand finale and have a really good time.
I'm very excited. I know when we first started this whole thing, I was nominated this year and accepted the nomination and chose to postpone, because the activities that I was planning are in-face activities. Right. In part. So next year, I'll be doing a motorcycle run. I'm partnering in advance with Buddy Stubbs. So what I did was I went out and bought my motorcycle sooner than later so I could drum up business for LLS next year. So I'll be documenting rides throughout the year and pumping up the volume on LLS. So by next year, we'll have hopefully a big win where we can have at least $50,000 come in so we can have a fund my dad, Frank Micalizzi's name. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. The other thing I'm doing is a campaign called Micalizzi Gives, where all the interviews from this year and all the interviews from next year on Relentless Talk Radio that are LLS specific will inspire a painting that will be auctioned off at the gala. So I'm also a visual journalist where I tell stories and I illustrate those stories. So I'll be illustrating a story, and I'll be telling that story throughout the year. So I think that actually the candidates that laid the way this year are going to make it even better for those of us who had to postpone for next year. And you'll be announcing all the candidates for next year. So I'm on board. I'm on board for next year.
Okay, we're putting you in. We're putting you in the PowerPoint. We're putting you in the slide deck that night. So it makes it a lot harder to back out when you.
Absolutely. when you say it public, I've been saying it publicly for weeks too. And my video producer Scotty Yang is going to be taking all the videos that we've done for these interviews and making a little evergreen video that the candidates can share pre-gala. You guys will get that interview on the 22nd that you can share with your audience. That's going to take all of your interviews and put it together. And then if you choose, you can show it at the gala if you think it's going to be helpful. So tell me more about how people can donate. So I have the website on the bottom, mwoy.org. Phoenix/MWOY-Phoenix, but you can just go to MWOY.org and search.
Yeah, and you can find us. It's some of our URLs are a little
bit, but that's okay. MWO.org is the best way to go, and then you can just search from there. But people can donate there. They can also go right to LLS Arizona and send an email, or they can just write a check. Pop it in the mail.
It's, the easiest way, as with everything is right now, is to just go online, and any donation that comes in from somebody from Arizona is credited to our chapter. Not that matters, because we whatever money comes in is money that's going to be put to good use. I do encourage people, though, if they have a minute, to go and check out our candidates and watch the interviews of the ones that you've done, but then also go and read some of their stories. And I bet you will connect with at least one of them. And then if you do decide to make a donation, it'll be a difficult decision, or you can split it, or however you want to do it, and support those candidates, because they really have jumped in and done a tremendous job. So
I'm going to have to split my donation equally. And each one of these candidates are really absolutely fantastic, whether they've been a survivor themselves, or they've lost someone to leukemia or lymphoma like I have, or they've had someone in their life recover, which is another part of the story. Like, cancer is not necessarily a death sentence. There are so many things that we can do. And that is why we're raising the money, so that we can do more research, so that more people can have long lives. And, my dad died in his 80s. So, something would have took him. It was lymphoma. But my dad used to say to me when he was getting his treatments that there was a young man sitting next to me, Michelle, and he's got 2 small kids or 3 small kids, or, and he's got his whole life ahead of me. And this is so unfair because I'm at the end of my life and he's just starting his, and it just breaks my heart, So I knew when my dad was literally on his deathbed, I emailed you and said, Jim, I'm ready. My dad is passing, and I'm getting chills as I'm telling you. My dad is passing, and I want to tell the story of what you guys are doing, because what you do is so important for so many families, and it's just a really, really important thing. And so I believe that my dad is jerry-rigging stuff from heaven, that this year is going to be a very successful year, and next year is going to be even more successful, because we've had to move some of the candidates to next year, and then we've created great awareness. And I think the online component is something that more likely than not you'll probably continue to have part of some kind of online component, right?
Oh, absolutely. The things that we've learned that really work, we're gonna plug those in for next year. And I do want to come back to a point that you just made. The outcomes and the outlook especially for blood cancers, it's so much better now than it was even 20 years ago. And that's all because of research. I mean, we've seen survival rates, triple, quadruple for some of our diseases. And, that progress is only made by investing in research. And it's not just blood cancers too.
It's everything.
There's a lot of exciting stuff happening in the cancer research world, which a lot of it originated, and the immunotherapies are kind of the exciting thing right now. And those all started with blood cancer research that thankfully LLS was able to support. So I always say, I don't think I'm going to see the end of cancer in my lifetime, because I'm an old guy, but I think my kids will. And that's really important to me, to know that my daughters, at some point, cancer will be a chronic condition that you might have to deal with, or we'll have a variety of different options for curative treatments. And it won't be the same conversation that we've grown up with and seen in our lifetime, that it'll be very different for them.
Yeah, we can't take our foot off the gas. I mean, I watched my dad go through one treatment after another. And what was amazing, they found his cancer because he he had that pair of glasses that was always crooked and was digging. And I'd say, and his parents from depression. So he would wait until things were literally like, falling off his face. Right. And I said, Dad, you got to go to the eye doctor and just get him to fix that. Just come on. So he went to the eye doctor, and they found hemorrhaging behind his eyes. Right. And the doctor said, it could be diabetes. It might be something else. You need to go get it checked out. So when they found his blood cancer, his blood was literally like the consistency of peanut butter. I mean, that's how ill he was when they found him. And the fact that he went from not even knowing he had cancer to living for 12 years is a true testament of the technology and the science behind cancer treatment right now. And we cannot take our foot off the gas. So if you're listening to this broadcast, or someone sent this to you via email, or you happen to stumble upon it on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, please go to mwoy.org, search for Phoenix, and gift either to the general Relentless for a Cure general donation, or split between the candidates, or just find the most good looking one and give to that one. But definitely all the money that you donate is going to go towards saving lives and doing great things in families' lives and extending life, and everything is life-giving. So Jim, I really appreciate what you and your staff are doing. Thank you so much for letting me be part this year. I look forward to killing it next year and seeing you on June 27th.
Absolutely. And thank you, Michelle, again. You've been a wonderful support, and we look forward to working with you on your campaign next year. It'll be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of leather.
Good to know. I will keep that in mind. It'll be a lot of leather.
My contingent's going to be all the crazy artists and crazy biker people, and all the crazy people are going to be. There's the Micalizzi table over there with all the crazy people. It's good, right?
Love it.
Well, Jim, you have a good rest of your day. And again, everybody, thank you for tuning in to Relentless for a Cure. This has been a special series. It's been highlighting the Leukemia Lymphoma Society's Man and Woman of the Year campaign here in Arizona, which is on June 27th. Please go to mwoy.org and donate. Thanks a lot, Jim. Have a good day.
Thank you, Michelle.